Hi guys, Luca here from Sabre Airsoft with a video today on batteries, something that everyone who owns an AEG should know. There's quite a lot about batteries that people don't understand, make mistakes with, and it's very easy to go wrong and get the wrong battery for your AEG, and then it will potentially die, the battery might catch fire, you can find that your motor gets extremely hot, and all of that is related to the numbers that are on the batteries that no one's ever told you. The reason I haven't done this video up until now is quite frankly laziness. It's one I've been wanting to do for a while, but haven't really got around to it. But I'm doing it today because of this video's sponsor, which is Hobby King. If you don't know who Hobby King are, they are a RC and airsoft battery supplier who, if you've been in the RC world, you will know their name extremely well, but in the airsoft world, maybe not quite so much. They are a very well-known name, and they also own the brand Turnigy. Now, Turnigy batteries are quite well-known in the RC world as well, and perhaps in the small electronics world for their reliability and cost-effectiveness. They are also very good quality. So if you do want to find out more about Hobby King, you can find a link down in the description below. It is an affiliate link, and you can also use code SABRE, which is again down in the description below, for 5% off any products on their website. And I also think it's worth noting that they do have a UK warehouse, so shipping is actually quite quick, and you don't have to worry about tax. So thank you again to Hobby King for sponsoring this video. Anyway, onto the subject matter. Batteries. Most of you will probably be aware that there are at least two primary types of battery voltages that you might be aware of. For example, you might know 7.4 versus 11.1. That's not all there is. And in fact, so you'll be aware of maybe perhaps 7.4 versus 11.1, but you may not then be aware of the different other battery types, such as these nickel metal hydride, or NiMH as they're more commonly called, 8.4 volts, or 9.6 volts. Then there's lithium ion batteries, which this one's an 11.1. And then obviously there are, again, different types. For example, you've got the single sticks, you've got these lithium ions tend to be really, really long. And then you've got like these nunchucky ones. And all of these batteries are different. You might be looking at this and going, well, hold on, Luca, that says 1.2 11.1 and 1.2 11.1. That's the same battery, isn't it? Except that it's not. Because if you look a little bit closer, you'll see that one says 25 to 50C and the other one is 15 to 25C. The other difference, of course, being the connector. One is Mini Tamiya and the other one is Dean's. Although personally it doesn't matter to me what the connector is because I will just rewire them to the connector that I need. Don't do this at home unless you know what you're doing. If you want an instructional video on that, I can do that, although my soldering skills are not particularly great, though they do the job and I do try to leave them neat. I'm less careful on my own stuff. So again, onto the batteries. What do the different numbers mean? We'll just get these ones out of the way for a minute and focus on these here. Let's look at this one as an example. So the numbers that you see on there is you've got 1.2 here, 1200 milliamp hours, 7.4 volts, 2S, and 25 to 50C discharge with 8.88 watt hours. So what does all that mean? Well, 1.2 in this case is just telling you quickly and easily how to tell what the storage capacity is, which is 1200 milliamp hours. So that number with mAh is your storage capacity. 2S refers to the number of cells. 2S means 2 cells, 3S, 3 cells, 4S, 4 cells, etc., etc. The next one, 7.4 volts, that's relating to the voltage of the battery. That's the output voltage. This number here, 25 to 50C, the lower number is what the normal discharge rate is, with the higher number in this case being the burst or maximum output. What the discharge rate means is how many amps that battery is going to put out. For example, with these two here, this one has a maximum of 25C. So if we were to take the number 1.2 times 25, off the top of my head, I'm really rubbish at maths, that's somewhere around 30 amps. And then you take the lower number, which is 15, that's 18 amps. But But then if you look at this one, 1.2 times 50, that's over 50 amps. So this one, even though they're the same voltage and they have the same capacity, this one puts out a lot more amps. And if you don't have something like a MOSFET protecting the circuitry within your AEG, you might find that you get arcing on your trigger contacts. You'll find potentially that your motor literally burns out, and you can usually smell it. So that's why the amperage is important, and all the other numbers relating to it. I would generally favour lower amps, higher voltage, with a high capacity, if possible. Obviously keeping those amps low. Which means, really, 15 to 25C is what I would typically try and aim for. Obviously, with more storage capacity as well comes the size of the battery. As you go up in the milliamp hours, the battery size gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Conversely, they don't always have to be necessarily this big. This is 1200 milliamp hours, and this one here is 1100 milliamp hours, with a 20C discharge rate with a 40C burst. So this one potentially puts out more, which you might not necessarily want, but the smaller form factor may be the deciding factor for you. Another thing to note is when you've got a nunchuck style like this, they are quite often a much higher capacity. And like we just discussed, a higher capacity means a higher amperage output. This is 7.4 volts, but it's got a 15 to 25C discharge rate. So even though it's a lower voltage, it actually puts out more amps than this one does, which is an 11.1. And that's kind of important to know. What the capacity of your wiring is, it should, generally speaking, you should be okay with 15 to 25C, but if you start going to too high amps, you'll find that they start getting hot. If you don't know what amps is, back to GCSE science, amps is current. It's a measurement of current. So that's what those numbers mean. So if your tech builds a replica for you, an AEG, and tells you to use a specific battery, do what they say and use that battery. Don't just think, oh, well, I can get this 11.1 cheaper, so this must be the one that I must be able to use this. Not necessarily, because you might be finding that, again, you buy a bigger capacity one and it's suddenly putting out more amps. You could find that they've put in a motor which expects a certain amperage, and you end up blowing an internal fuse as a result of using too many amps. So let's talk about connectors. There are different connectors that you can get. I unfortunately don't have any other connector examples to hand. But on all batteries, you'll come with two sets of leads, at least with the LiPos. You'll have the main connection. This is your positive and negative. And then you'll have either 3, 4, or even more of these wires coming out into this connector here. This is the balance lead. And when you plug it into any decent charger, you should need to put both in, so that you can discharge and charge at the appropriate moments in order to keep the cells balanced. Because you do need to make sure that the cells in these are balanced. Lithium polymer batteries, when not balanced, can swell, heat up, and burst into flame, which is another reason why you should always have something like this. This is a LiPo-safe charging bag. It is fire resistant. It is not fireproof, it is fire resistant. And there have been a number of cases on Reddit and on the UK Airsoft Facebook group where they've managed to not burn their house down because they happen to have a bag like this. Not necessarily this one, but certainly a LiPo-safe bag that was fire resistant. And that's extremely important. Do not charge your batteries whilst, and then, don't put your batteries on charge and then go do other things. Be near them, keep an eye on them, because they can and do burst into flame if charged wrong. Even then, sometimes if you start to notice that they're swelling at any point, that means that that battery is now done. Don't use it anymore. If it starts swelling and becomes like a pillow, I'm sure if you look up the old Samsung phones, then you'll see what I mean by becoming a pillow. Then you can't use that battery anymore. It's not safe. What you need to do is you need to safely discharge it and then dispose of it correctly. If you don't have the means to discharge batteries, then at your local airsoft site, they should have a proper means to dispose of it. Usually, at most sites that I've been to, that just consists of a big bucket of sand. Your local recycling centre may also take the lithium polymer batteries. Usually, if they take e-cigarettes, they'll take these. But do make sure that you check with them before you dispose of them there, and don't just chuck them in normal rubbish, again, because that is a fire hazard. Back to connectors. Apologies, I went off on a bit of a tangent there. So this is called a Dean's connector. This is probably the most common connector that is starting to come out with, certainly newer released AEGs, is they'll come with the Deans. The other one that they'll come with, for some reason, is Mini Tamiya. I don't like Mini Tamiya, but I have to keep batteries with this connector because there are still plenty of them out there. These love to break. They are brittle. The clips that connect them will break off over time, and overall just unreliable. These, reliable. When these are connected, these have a very solid connection. Another type, I believe, is XT30, which is more common in RC, although I haven't really seen it very often recently, but it did start to come into Airsoft a little bit. The other one, if you're a HPA user, you'll be familiar with, is the JST connector, which is a very, very small connector. Just a teeny tiny little red one. That's all I really need to have to talk about when it comes to batteries. Be careful when you're charging them. Don't cheap out on your chargers. Don't go and buy the little free LED chargers. They are awful. They're just not safe. Buy a proper charger like the IMAX B6 and you'll have a much better time. When you're setting the charger and how many amps you want to charge it, always set it to balance. Set it to, say, for example, this one here, the 1200 milliamp hours. I would set the amperage probably to 0.9. That'll get the highest charge, but it'll take longer. And when you're not using them, put them into a storage charge, which varies depending on how many cells you have. I can't quite remember, but I believe for 3 cells, it's like somewhere between 3 and 4 volts per cell. Can't quite recall. That will make the life of your battery a lot longer. So if you're not using it for more than a week, put it on a storage charge. Charge it the day before. There is a limit to how many charge and discharge cycles these batteries will take before they just stop having the same capacity. iPhone users will be particularly familiar with that, I imagine, as it likes to tell you once that starts to happen and your overall capacity goes down. That's it for this video, guys. Once again, thank you to Hobby King for sponsoring this video and sending these batteries out to me. Certainly I get through enough batteries, so I will probably be going back for more. Go and check them out down in the description below using my affiliate link, or don't. I do get kickback with the affiliate link, and so I would appreciate the additional support. But if you want to just go, nah, I don't want to do that, and go to the Hobby King website, by all means, you do you. And again, 5% off all the products on the website with code SABER at checkout. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Catch you on the next one.